So I have another OT question. I know, sorry, I'm telling you. But I do have another OT question. But this one is about comorbidity. So this one is, can an OT handle comorbid diagnoses such as autism spectrum disorder with epilepsy or ASD with GDD? I've never seen those two together, but I don't know about you. And how can they help with the situation? I've only ever seen GDD or ASD. I've never seen them as a comorbid diagnosis. I don't know about you.
These days, I'm hearing a lot of these kids. It's either one or together. So they would have. It's only logical that they would have GDD due to them being on ASD. That's I'm hearing more of that.
I've had.
It's very confusing for me too, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, so I've had children come to me with young children, so maybe like 3 or 4 years old, and come to me and they've got a diagnosis of GDD. And then I've worked with the child, on their language skills, and then I've had them kind of slightly older age, like maybe 5 or 6, then have that diagnosis reversed, and then they change the diagnosis. The doctors then change the diagnosis, so they're no longer under GDD, they're under ASD.
Yeah.
So I've had that quite a few times, and that's happened like quite recently.
Yeah.
But I've never had like that comorbid diagnosis.
Together.
Yeah. Because it kind of, it does go a little bit without saying. If you have an ASD diagnosis, you're kind of going to have a bit of GDD.
Yes, exactly.
So, yeah.
Because when you're on the spectrum, you're going to have some difficulties with
a lot of different areas.
With a lot of different areas. So that's why they might see it with they might see it as GDD as well.
Yeah. Sorry, I should just clarify, just because we're using acronym there. So GDD stands for Global Developmental Delay. Yeah. So global, of course, means across everything, pretty much everything. So there would be a delay across, all of the milestones, across kind of all of that development. So that's what we mean when we talk about GDD, global developmental delay. Whereas ASD, autism spectrum disorder, which is neuro developmental disorder. So how about, and I have a recent client who has epilepsy, and of course because of the seizures, and that can impact communication skills. Yeah. So how about you?
Same with OT as well. Because of the seizures, there's already changes in the brain structure.
Yeah.
And then it's going to affect different areas of the brain, and then different skills for them to do to function in their daily life. So. We work on it for children with ASD and epilepsy. We try to work on what the parents' goals are, what their priority is. So usually we would maybe look into emotional regulation, maybe social communication skills, as well as at the same time they want their child to flourish in school as well. So we work on fine motor skills as well. So for example, if a child has epilepsy due to changes in the brain, and then they might have some difficulties with motor planning maybe, or they might have a slightly weaker side of the body, and then that's when OT and also physiotherapists might come together, as well as speech therapy, to work on all these skills together with children.
This is not a parent question, but I feel like it could potentially be. With regards, so if a child is diagnosed with ASD and epilepsy, and with their ASD they have some sensory integration difficulties, it's getting a complex question. Is there anything, so a lot of, like we talked about kind of things like swinging, spinning, things like that. Do you have to be more careful, more aware with that diagnosis of epilepsy? Can any of these activities trigger a seizure?
I've no experience regarding that, but in our therapy sessions, we're always conscious of that child's regulation level, of their heartbeat level, and also always keeping an eye on them if there's any changes if they suddenly fell down or feel dizzy. So we're always keeping close eyes with the child. So there is a possibility if some of these activities are just too overwhelming for them, that's when an occupational therapist should know to grade their activities so that all of the things are not going to be too overwhelming for the child. Yeah.
And that is a bit of a fear. Like for me, working with anybody who is epileptic, then it is a bit of a fear that anything I can do, if I do something that's quite exciting and might trigger them, might overstimulate them, then are we going to trigger a seizure? And luckily enough, like even back in the UK, I've worked with quite severe children with severe epilepsy. So I've had to deal with what to do if children do have seizures, and I'm quite okay with that. But you don't really want to be the person who triggers that in your session, So that's why. And I was just thinking things like because I've seen how excited some of the children get when they go to OT, and it's like beautiful gym, and like we've got swings and a trampoline,
a lot of opportunities to go around.
Exactly, and I can see how it would be so exciting for them that it might just be quite sort of stimulating.
Yeah, and it's also natural for kids to be feeling that way as well.
Because any child, right? That's kind of a bit of my fear personally, is that overstimulating a child and then causing that reaction, which may then end up in having a seizure. Ideally we don't want that in our sessions.
So that's when all therapists should know
monitor
to be grading their activities really slowly instead of going straight to the most exciting part.
Okay, so let me just check. So the next question is about providing aid for management in school, but I think you've already answered that. And then the other one was OT help. How does OT help in development, especially for those with GDD? I think you've kind of covered that by talking about like daily living skills, functional skills, and regulational skills,
social emotional skills as well, emotional regulation,
handwriting skills, pre-handwriting skills.
So anything. Basically everything.
Basically everything. Yeah, I'm lucky that they cover everything.
Yeah.
I'm stuck with speech. I'm communication.
But your input is very, very precious to us as well as very to our therapy sessions as well, because we're working together towards the child's development and so So basically, when a child comes for OT, we would look at the child's development level holistically. So that includes physical, gross motor, fine motor, social communication, social emotional, how their interaction are with people, with peers their age. And there's a whole lot of things that comes into it when we're assessing a child's developmental level. Cool.
And so I should also note as well, so one of the things that we can do as therapists is sometimes parents ask us to do this. If the child is having some difficulties in school, that we can actually go to the school and observe your child in that environment, and then from there, that's going to be, we assess the child in that situation, and then we can kind of provide those modification strategies.
Modifications and strategies to the teachers for them to help support the child at school. While they're doing that at school, we're also doing the support here at home as well as.
So then it's kind of that support is put in place in all of those environments, and so the aim is, of course, to help your child thrive in all of those situations, generalize those skills across the board.